Hello, everybody. It's Fernando Labastida with another interview in the speaker preview series for the UX/AI Summit here in Waco at the Performing Arts Community Center, September 12th, all day, 8 to 5 p.m. with Sam Harper, one of our wonderful speakers as well as promoters here in town. Sam, let's just get right into it. You run the Waco Buzz newsletter. Tell us about what Waco Buzz is and why a newsletter.
Yeah, so it's, in short, it's a local media company here in town that I would call new media, in that it is primarily email first, social second, but everything being oriented around, hey, how do I help actually gather people and get people to show up to great stuff going on in their very own backyard? And that's kind of the overarching thesis to the whole thing is, hey, how does it not just be media that we scroll past or things that we're just so used to seeing, but how do we actually encourage people to both be meaningfully informed, but also meaningfully engage with what's going on here in Waco?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these kind of new media companies pop up in different cities like Asheville, North Carolina. Or actually, there's like a 4 p.m. or 3 a.m. I don't know. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. thing that popped up in several cities in North Carolina, and similar things in Austin. Austin has several of them, et cetera. So I think that's actually really cool. Now, you have called Waco home for 10 years, right?
Yep.
You've bounced around a little bit, South Michigan, you're born in Denver, et cetera. What brought you to Waco? Why Waco?
Yeah, I met my wife going to school in Chicago, actually, and had been here one time previously, and this is 2010, 2011 time frame, right? 2009, somewhere in there, and we were going to school in Chicago and trying to figure out, what do we want to do? Where do we want to kind of start the foundation of our married lives and our families and things like that?
And your empire.
Yeah, not quite there. That wasn't in my mind just yet. But while we were still wrapping up school in Chicago, ended up meeting a leader who runs a nonprofit here in Waco, and basically after meeting with him and having a long conversation, he just said, hey, I think Waco would be a great starting place for you guys. I think there's lots of opportunity to actually be here. And again, a very hope-filled vision of what's happening here in Waco and the story that maybe isn't always being told. And so moved here from Chicago, lived here for a couple of years before we moved back to Michigan, or up to Michigan, I should say. We were there for a handful of years and then moved back in Waco 10 years ago. And so we've absolutely loved it from a people side, from the fact that, hey, it's still a very, driving 20 minutes to get anywhere is about all it really ever takes. And typically everything's a lot closer than that.
I wish we had that in Austin. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've become small town people of sorts, but really recognize that this is such a critical time in our city with so many emerging leaders and businesses and things going on here, that I just think the opportunity is all around of saying, hey, what do you want to build, and what do we want the future of our city to be, and how do we contribute and try to help see that come through?
Perfect. So let's get a little bit into the topic of your talk at the UX/AI Summit. I think you're going to be giving a workshop.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And, as a creator yourself, right, you run the newsletter, you do social media, you really are kind of now becoming a source of critical information to the community of what's going, what happening, events, restaurants, nonprofits, businesses opening, et cetera. So how are you injecting AI into the process to help you with, either the creative side or the workflow side?
It's great.
Tell me a little bit about what you'd prefer to talk about right now in response to this question.
Yeah, totally. I think even mentioning, hey, AI and kind of a creator track, depending on what circles you're in or where you're going online, there's a measure of, hey, we don't want everything to just be so AI generated or overly where you can just tell. It's like, man, there's no person behind this. There's no maybe humanity that's still there. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Hey, how do you leverage the strength of AI while emphasizing who you are as a creator and what you're building and what type of outcomes you're trying to look for and drive? Because that's really where I see, hey, AI versus in real life type of dynamics are not at odds. It's, hey, how do we really bring the best of both of these things together with whatever you're trying to create without parking your brain at the door and just saying, hey, it's really just, the AI is running everything. It's saying, hey, what's kind of that beautiful radical middle, if I can say it like that, and try to help people identify where can I leverage AI systems and tools in my workflow, and even as a creative thinking partner of sorts, but what part do I want to make sure I maintain? And what part do I always want to make sure my fingerprints are still on without just handing off everything or handing the account over to an AI to run the whole thing? Because I think that's, again, we're going to see the extremes on both ends in the days ahead, but I really do think it's people who are rightly educated, informed, but also equipped on, hey, here's how I can actually leverage these tools real time for what I'm trying to create.
I think it's so important that what you're mentioning right now, because I think this has become a kind of like a flashpoint of debate at the moment, right? I just recently read a newsletter article on Substack written by Ryan Levesque, right? And he talks about this term, and I can't say it here for, this is a family program, right? It's called N-something-ification, right? Okay. So you've heard that term, right? Yep. N-something-ification, which is essentially, what you mentioned, right? We're seeing a bunch of AI-created content in our timelines, the AI slop, as the term has become known. And people don't know what's real, what's fake. We don't trust it. There's kind of been, everything has been kind of pushed down to average, right? And injecting your humanity into it and making sure that the humanity comes through, that kind of middle ground where, your voice, your opinions, your unique point of view is maintained while taking advantage of the absolute power of AI to amplify us. So I think it's going to be that's going to be very important for you to talk about. I'm glad you're bringing it up. What about when it comes to like workflow? Because I think that's also very important, especially for creative people.
Yeah, so definitely wanted to dialogue through kind of part of of whatever that person's creative process might be. Obviously, I know people are going to be very unique or all over on the map on that one. I'll probably be sharing just from my own standpoint. Hey, from idea or even pre-ideation, help me with ideas. And here's what I'm trying to drive towards. So thinking, hey, looking at ideation, looking at editing and feedback from that, and then trying to even look at what does kind of a final delivery look like as far as distribution goes, and where I can placements of all these things. Exactly. And then even getting to the business model side of it, and ultimately looking at, hey, how do you end up saving yourself a lot of hours and hopefully be able to emphasize truly what's maybe your best gifts or strengths in the creative process, while allowing the AI system and tools that you have access to and hopefully start beginning to implement. How do you let those things start running with you as a creative partner in your process?
That's great. That's great. What platform are you currently using to help you with Waco Buzz with your newsletter?
Sure. Everything's on Claude.
Okay.
Me. Yeah. And I just like so many other people that I know, started on ChatGPT, and then I jumped over to Grok for a little bit. Then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick a horse, and I'm just going to dump everything right there so that I don't have to start reintroducing myself of sorts to a new partner. Right. And so I've been headlong with Claude over the last year.
Right. And so are you using using all the suite of tools that they're using, Claude?
Outside of Claude Code, even with all the things it can do, I was like, you know what? I don't need that at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Claude Cowork probably.
Yes,
exactly. I'm fully on Claude Cowork.
Yep.
Et cetera. And one of the things that Mike Hamilton, who runs Rogue Media Network, these are the Rogue Media Studios right here, he talks about how he's using Claude Cowork and also some different models to help with the workflow over here. Are you kind of helping with? Are you using Claude Cowork in a sort of a workflow aspect as well?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because so much of what I'm doing is looking at, I tell everybody, I was like, hey, I am not doing investigative journalism. Like, there are other amazing players in Waco who have been doing that for a long time, and even new people who are coming up who are doing this, which is so needed. I'm a curator of information. So meaning it's public, it's on people's timelines here and there, but with the dynamic of large algorithms that push car wrecks and negative experiences, because again, it knows people are going to engage on that stuff. I filter through all of that to say, hey, what stories do I want to make sure I'm pushing out to my audience directly?
Right.
And so the helpful thing for me on that is help me find these stories. Help make sure I don't have things falling through the cracks, because that was all a manual process.
Yes.
Where I'm taking screenshots and I'm grabbing this to make sure it's not forgotten, where I just recognize, hey, that's a very limited system that inevitably is going to have stuff get missed. And so leveraging AI helps on hey, make sure that these things are constantly being refreshed and looked at, and I'm getting these stories dropped directly to me to help on what I'm trying to distribute and get out to people.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the beauty of this kind of collaboration with your AI here, is that it's helping you surface things that you need to know what's going on, right? Whereas previously you would have spent a whole lot more time doing it. But then with your human judgment, you're playing the curator, right? And you're saying, okay, I think my audience is going to, or my 10 years here in Waco, I know what's going to resonate, what people are going to want to be interested in, et cetera. That's something that I think no AI can get, or maybe at least not yet, right? Which is that human creation, right? Which I think is so important, right? And so that's like AI for you as being your executive assistant.
Yes.
Right?
100%. And I had a guy pitch me this, I don't know, call it a year ago, where he's like, hey, I could have AI do your entire workflow, and you could have your whole newsletter be written in less than 5 minutes. And I said, show me, because you're with all that AI can do, part of me is like, maybe it can. Maybe it actually can. Great. I would love that. Save me so much time. And I saw it and I realized, I was like, you know what? It's the human element that people connect with. It's not just it's just a dump of information. Anybody can do that. And even how you want to package said information. Any AI can do that just with one click of a button or one prompt. But that's where, for me, what's been most valuable has been, hey, I need the help as far as gathering information. But the part that I play is the curation, just like you were saying, and making sure my perspective, my voice, everything, what I'm trying to actively share with my audience and community, that is coming through in all of it. That it's not just hey, here's a bullet point email of random information points, regurgitated of what you're already seeing just by going to Google News and just saying what's happening in Waco. It very much is meant to be more of I'd say you're getting the news like you're talking to a friend, just like this.
Exactly. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So getting back a little bit to Waco Buzz, because I'm fascinated with this. I'm bullish on newsletters because I think that when you land in somebody's inbox, first of all, they've given you permission to land in that inbox, right? They have opted in and they said, yes, I want to receive this. This is not some kind of spam thing. This is like literally, it goes back to Seth Godin when he wrote Permission Marketing in 1999 or 2000 or whatever, right? And also it's kind of like focused attention, right? Because when you're in social media, first of all, whatever you see is the algorithm deciding to show that. You're not getting what everybody you're friends with is posting. And then you're ADHD on social media. So tell me a little bit about email as a delivery for news like this. What's the difference between that and then maybe just sharing the same news on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, TikTok?
Yeah, no, totally. Everything you just said, I 100% agree with, of recognizing the, where people are at who are consuming content on social media. It's in a different place. And then ultimately, it's about a rented audience versus an owned audience. And I've talked to so many people who have saying, hey, I'm trying to build a business on Instagram, or I'm trying to build a Facebook page and generate revenue, which is totally doable. And you can make tons of money. But at the end of the day, at any point, obviously both those scenarios would be meta. A lever could get pulled, the algorithm changes, and all of your revenue could be gone overnight.
You have no control over it.
You have no control over those dynamics that happen, and there's countless stories of that happening. And so for me, so I've been doing this for 2 years now, or building this brand here locally for 2 years, and I said, hey, I'm going to go headlong on email first, and I did not do anything on social for the first year. I said, hey, I've got to build a bit of a product market fit of, is there a desire for this and what I'm trying to deliver? I focused on that for the first year. because I said, hey, if I can get that owned audience and I can get some revenue getting generated, adding social onto it, that's a very easy addition in the flywheel. But it's everything you just pointed out. So it's owned audience, it's fixed attention where there's far less distraction going on. They've given permission telling me they want this. And now on my end, it's the consistency of me delivering what I told them that I'm going to, what they gave me permission to saying, hey, multiple times a week, I'm going to be sending you an email at this time on these days to help people ultimately start forming habits around. So like right now, it's every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday morning. Hey, when I get up and I'm getting my coffee, I'm looking forward to getting this email. It's become part of your morning in the very same way it used to be 20 years ago of I had my coffee and I walked out to my sidewalk to get my newspaper. No one does that anymore. But now it's I've got my coffee and I've got my phone next to me and I'm looking at the most important things that I'm curious about. And my job or my task is I want to make sure that I'm earning that part of your day with every single newsletter that I send out.
It's like back in the day where people would sit down at 5 o'clock and watch the evening news at 5 o'clock every day, and they delivered it at 5 o'clock. If they delayed their start until 5:05, people would be screaming bloody murder. Exactly. And so,
yes. And I think the key difference of what I'm seeing as traditional media versus new media and the transition that's taking place. One, I think a lot of the big players are trying to figure this out. The New York Times just announced that they're starting a local newsletter in the Twin Cities. So they're seeing, hey, we need to figure something out. You just mentioned 6 a.m. City. They've gone headlong into AI and populated over hundreds of cities across the U.S. now. Axios, which is a global news powerhouse.
Yes.
They've got about 30-plus local newsletters that are, again, newsletter first in different cities across the country. So you're seeing, hey, there's this shift going on, and there's other, when I was in Michigan, the newsletter got started while I was there at the Michigan Business School. It was one called Morning Brew. They got acquired by private equity a handful of years ago for $75 million, and they've got 4 million subscribers right now.
Okay, I think I want people to focus on this. Morning Brew is a newsletter.
Yeah, started by 2 college students.
They got acquired for $75 million by a private equity firm.
Yeah,
okay.
just a handful of years ago. But again, it's the power of, hey, I have an audience that has brand equity built over time through consistency, and ultimately, it's a distribution channel. And so that's why you're seeing big tech companies and other players saying, we are always looking for distribution that we can put our product on. And I know that's not the end point of the Waco Buzz, obviously, but I think you're still seeing a playbook of sorts of where's the validity of this coming from and recognizing that. For me, the difference that I found kind of evolved in, I just changed my title on LinkedIn from publisher to head of community. Because what I recognized was at the end of the day, I'm not just doing this for ad dollars. I'm doing this for people who are here, and kind of the big part of my flywheel that got unlocked about 8 or 9 months ago was putting on my own events as well, where it's not just a digital experience, it's, hey, everyone else who's reading this are also my neighbors. So why should we not do fun stuff together? Why should a part of this ecosystem not be, what are neat things going on here, and how can I help facilitate getting great people together who also read the same email and get to have a shared experience in that way?
Yeah.
So it's really trying to put the, I don't want to say consumer, it's just trying to put my neighbors as the most valuable part of this compared to just how can I stack this thing with as many ads as possible in the name of revenue.
And I just, closing, I want to close with this. I love that model that you've developed because you're communicating in an authentic way with the local community, and you're taking that then into in-person events, right? And then you're using AI to grease the wheels, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Or as an accelerant that you're pouring on it. You're not outsourcing. You're not doing what that guy trying to sell you,
it can do everything for you.
5-minute newsletter for you. It's like, no, that's the wrong approach to AI, right? AI has to facilitate what we're doing to bring community, to bring creativity together, and that turns into that flywheel, right?
Yes. And ultimately, what makes me so excited about the workshop is the creator economy is only going to keep on growing. And I every business, most everyone who works at their business, they've got social profiles. They've got a LinkedIn page. And in my mind, what we're going to see more and more of is every employee is being activated as a creator to share about what's life like working here.
Yeah.
What, you know, help, you're probably going to be the biggest advocate for your product, and you've got social pages that you can be sharing these things, but recognizing, hey, how do we leverage AI where we all have the opportunity to influence someone through these pages we've built as personal consumers over the last 10, 15, 20 years? I think we're going to see way, way more of that. And so having space to talk about that workflow and look at, hey, this is not going to be adding a whole bunch of time onto your day. This is, hey, you just need a simple process and plan and the right tool.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, new revenue gets unlocked and all these new opportunities can start opening up if you're wanting to engage with it and go there.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us on the call. How can people, if they're interested in what you're doing, Waco Buzz, your own processes, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, website's thewacobuzz.com. My email's on there, contact page. Feel free to reach out right there or on socials if you want to find me there as well.
Perfect. And the UXAI Summit is on the 12th of September. It's a Saturday, all day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can register online right now at youxai.live. Early bird tickets are $59. It's a steal. Where can you get AI conference access like that? And early bird pricing expires July 31st. So thank you so much, Sam, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you at the conference.